Hello, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us on our third podcast for the UAE game developers. I know it's been a while, and I do apologize, but you've got me back, and you got the chief with us. Today we've got a great man, and no, it's not Master Chief, it's Duane Wilson-Clarke. Duane Wilson is in the recruitment side of tech. So, as I said in all of our podcasts, we try to incorporate all different sides of game development and the tech industry into these here podcasts to give us a bit more insight into different fields. So I'm not the best person to introduce him. He's going to introduce himself. So I've got a very quick question for you. Who are you? And most importantly, what do you do?
So my name's Duane, obviously. Thank you very much for the warm introduction. I am a senior talent partner here at Level Up Gaming. And basically what we do is we support any sort of gaming studio or immersive studio in the UAE and around the world to attract the best talent pretty much from the gaming backgrounds. And yeah, I've been in the industry now for almost coming up to 7 years, working with a range of different clients from AAA mobile studios, AAA console studios, immersive studios, and a lot of different startups as well.
So you've got the experience, like you said, from bottom to the top. And this is why I've invited you on, because the people watching these and listening to these podcasts aren't necessarily going to be, AAA developers. It is people in the indie dev scene. And that's kind of who we're catering for today with this local insight. So thank you very much for explaining a little bit about you. But I'm going to ask a question I ask everybody. It really allows me to get to know who these people are. What is your favorite game, your favorite video game of all time? But most importantly, why is it your favorite game?
It's kind of embarrassing, but I'm going to stick with I'll be honest and give you an honest answer. Pokemon Red, hands down.
Yeah.
Nintendo GameCube. It's classic. It's something I could play, and you know what? You can complete the game in about 8 hours. It's something I could play over the course of a week, and I just never really got bored. I think it was one of the first games I played where I was like, I actually love this game, and I've gone back and revisited it several times. So it definitely stands out ahead of the crowd.
What was your starter Pokemon?
Oh, always Charmander. I just love having a Charmander. I just felt like it was just so powerful, and it just had so many options. I mean, after that, I'd probably go for Squirtle. I never really jumped on the Bulbasaur vibe, but yeah, I feel like Charmander was always.
I'm a Charmander guy. Yeah. It'd be very interesting to actually have the statistics on that, like what Pokemon was chose the most out of Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulba. I know.
I'm pretty sure it has to be Charmander.
I think it has to be, but I think if memory serves me correct, there's a cheat glitch, whatever you want to call it. Where you can actually have Pikachu as your starter.
Yeah, there is. There's quite a few glitches. I think, just from memory, I could find rare candy just by walking around. I know the whole map. I know every single glitch everywhere you can go. I used to, get Mew before it was allowed. It was like I knew everything for that game.
I never really had Mew, but yeah, though Pokemon I think is something close to all of our hearts. Yeah, it's great, but. We're not here to talk about Pokemon. We're here to talk about different things. But before we get on to that, although you're probably still playing Pokemon, but what is the game you're playing now, and what do you like about it?
Again, a little bit embarrassing, but it's Clash of Clans. I think when I moved over here, I left my PlayStation at home, so I started playing mobile games a bit more than I had done previously, but I went on to Clash of Clans, which I played maybe 5 or maybe even 10 years ago. My village was still there, and yeah, it just grips me. And I just started playing it on a daily basis. I just think it's very simple to use, kind of interactive, and you can play for like 5 minutes, you can play for a few hours, completely optional. So yeah,
I played Clash. I'd say about 10 years ago. Like when it first came out, I wasn't missing that game, but I always got annoyed at like you'd have to be online to defend yourself. Like it encouraged like you being online or you're going to get wiped out. But I'm glad that it's still alive, and I think it is quite relatively still popular. For mobile game really. Okay, so thank you very much. We know a little bit more about you. We know your dark secrets of what games you're playing, what your game's like. But let's talk a little bit more about you specifically and your career and the industry that you're in. So we as people have lots of skills and qualities that we gain over the years through our personal development, education, career growth. But these skills aren't all transferable into game dev. Although I can make a great coffee or a great hot chocolate or whatever, it's not going to get me a game dev job. So I'm quite interested to see that. What skills are you looking for whenever someone applies for a game dev role specifically? Obviously, they want to have some experience in a particular engine and some maybe art or programming experience. But is there anything that's really specifically for game dev?
I would say it obviously helps to have a strong technical skill set. And obviously a genuine passion for gaming. I think it's really important to kind of get across the energy and the fact that you are a gamer as well, and you do kind of live and breathe your work.
Yeah.
But I think it's one of the key things is definitely having, the right game engine. Suppose if you're working on mobile games, having good experience with Unity, but also, understanding the dynamics of C# as well.
Yeah.
And it's the same on the other side for console gaming. If you're working with Unreal Engine, there's a good expectation to work with C++ as well.
So, like, how could you talk about passion, and how can someone show their passion without actually, talking to each other? Like, I think
you can present it on your CV a little bit to an extent. You can definitely. From a coding perspective, I'd like to see things like, you're quite active on GitHub, or you're uploading your personal projects and stuff like that. If you've got a portfolio, make sure it's up to date. I know there's a lot of work that you can have, which could be under NDAs, which you might not be able to show. But just be prepared to talk about it and talk about what you've done in a team, and also what you've done individually as well.
What are the don'ts?
The don'ts, I would say, is it's quite important to be very clear in what you want to do. So I come across it quite a lot more with, say, junior developers who want to break into the market, or junior designers, or just junior gaming professionals, but they will label themselves as a jack of trades. So they'll say, I can do development, design, and the 3 or 4 different areas, but not necessarily for myself, because I'm a recruiter, or I still speak to you. But if you are a hiring manager, it looks like, it's like, what does this person want to do? What do they want? Where are they going to be in 5 years' time? Nobody wants to invest time in someone that's not going to be there in the long-term future. So
I think that's an issue though with game dev. Like, whenever you start off as game dev, so you have to be jack of all trades. You have to learn a little bit of art and audio and programming and whatever, no matter what your main discipline is. So my main discipline is programming. I am not a audio technician at all, but I understand the basics of, like, the pitch, and that's really it. But you know what I'm saying? You have to understand it a little bit. But I do get what you're saying. You can't go into a job and say, yeah, I want to be a junior Unity gameplay programmer. Here's my experience making pixel art. Here's my experience making blah blah. I'd suggest your advice would maybe you really tailor your CV or your portfolio to that specific thing. And I suppose you could say that, in this project, the art may be crappy or the audio is not the best, but I'm a programmer. I'm showing off my code, and like you said, you'd have a GitHub account to show that off. If you want to get into art, don't worry about your code being crap. It's your art that you're showing, but it's always good to have some people you can kind of come together with and do like a little game jam project to use each other's abilities to make a project that you can show off. We're talking about AAA, A, AA, everything between and below. What are like the differences of these companies are looking for in employees? So, like, let's take EA for example. Okay, obviously that'll be a AAA, and let's take Coffee Mug Games to be an indie. I just made it up there now. What type of skills are you seeing that the AAAs are looking compared to the indie devs?
I'd say with the AAAs, it's more senior experience. I think there's, especially in the, if you want to call it the Western world, more focused on Europe and America, then there's definitely a high demand for people with C++ and Unreal Engine, and obviously commercial experience working on shipped titles, which is, I think people just want to have a proven track record to show that, you have been there, you've done it before, and you'll be used to doing it again.
Do you think there's going to be any new tech that is coming up that these companies are going to be looking forward to, like VR, for example? It's good for developers to have some experience in VR, but are you seeing any new technology that's becoming a bit more in demand?
Not at the moment, but I think there are rumors of an upcoming programming language called the Verse, which is going to be exclusively for the metaverse. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops over the next kind of 5 or so years. But I think it's too early to see, what it's going to look like in the immediate short-term future.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I think I think in tech, it just takes a long time for things change fast. But it takes a long time for things to be solid, I guess.
Yeah, before they're implemented, how to use it, what the best way to use them is.
Yeah. Exactly. I seen we've got ChatGPT, GPT, and I seen a recruitment post on LinkedIn, and they wanted 1 year experience with chat, and I'm like, it's still a beta, like it's still a test. And the title
I'm
was.
Glad that all corners of the world, not just my job. It's a common problem.
And the title of the role was something like AI prompt expert. And it's like, I appreciate you want to dive into this tool and stuff like that, but you cannot be asking for a hardline experience in tools that are just out. It's like the classical meme of you want 30 years experience, but they must be under 18 years of age.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
What would your if you were to talk to every developer in your position in terms of recruitment, what would you say to them about staying away from searching for these buzzwords or these trigger words?
When you say buzzwords or trigger words, which ones are you talking about? Is there any
what would your words be to someone that's saying that I know AI is a big thing right now, but don't be asking for 5 years. What would you say to keep someone grounded in what they can ask for?
I would say, I think it's always important to focus. I mean, and I'm just speaking about at this moment in time, because tech can change very quickly, as we know. Yeah. But I think it's very important to know the basics and to work with somebody, or to work with managers, or work with a team that you're actually going to learn and benefit from. I think that's the most important thing when you're kind of either breaking into the industry, or if you want to join a new team, how can you improve your current skill sets? Yeah, it's communicating with people. Don't necessarily kind of just read the job spec and just kind of take it from there, or take everything at face value. Yeah. Definitely come up with your own questions and explore and try and find out as much about the role as possible.
Would you advise someone to contact you directly? So say that they've seen a job that's being posted by you. Would you advise people to message you directly on LinkedIn to ask them for some more information on the role, or if there's any? I
always think that's the best way. I think it's always important to understand why the role's available. Is it are you refilling a role? Are they expanding? Are they looking for a junior person? Are you just going to be working on some kind of legacy system, some older stuff? Are you working on new projects? You need to really understand how you fit into the team. So having that communication and understanding if you can work with that recruiter, or if they've got other roles as well, you're only going to get that from a conversation. So 100%.
Yeah, cool. I agree. I think you're completely right. A job description doesn't give you everything. You need to talk to the team and really understand their project. Obviously NDAs that are in place that they can't give away everything. But I think it's very important for someone to, although you're really wanting to get into the industry, it's important to be not so much picky, but a bit more understanding of what the role actually entails. Because you could be wanting to learn procedural generation, and all of a sudden, like you said, you're working on legacy systems. And I was like, yeah, I've got a job, I'm in the industry, which is great, but I'm not doing exactly what I want. So yeah, and I've got another weird question for you on the same kind of role. Is there any, so talking about people messaging you, a lot of people get, like, what do I say? Do I just pop up and say hi? Do I slide into your DMs? what do I say? Is there anything that someone can say to you from a first like introduction that makes you really think, wow, this person is interested, they know their stuff, and they want to be here?
I mean, a very well clean written CV always stands out. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just really simple. Ideally, 1 or 2 pages, and you've just got everything you need. There's kind of very little for me to ask. It's like, okay, let me pick up the phone and tell you about the role. That's how I want to kick off. But I think aside from that, I think one area, kind of to reverse your question, but one area that people fall down on, and I've had a few times this week, is the CV hasn't been, again, clear enough in terms of what they want to do. So I've had to go back to candidates and say, okay, would you mind writing a cover letter to kind of explain, what it is that you do want to focus on, or why it is you want to join this company? Or could you write a short paragraph kind of explaining, the key points about what it is you want to do, just to make it a bit more clearer? Because I might be able to get that from a conversation, but it's not always clear on the CV as well.
Have you had many CVs that are written by AI yet?
No, I don't. I hope not.
You hope not.
I don't know. I don't think we're far off, to be honest. I feel like anyone who's kind of, just kind of like finishing school at the moment, they'll probably be they'll be used to using that their whole life for the next kind of 10 years. That was so. Yeah, it's not far away, but yeah.
For me, I'm noticing it. Like, I can tell when something's been AI'd, or it's not, because there's a structure AI follows. Like for example, there now, when AI doesn't do that. AI just is quick and it blurts it out. There's no random adjustments in like segueing conversations. I guess AI is just does its thing. But whenever you do notice it, please let me know, because I want to see your like your AI.
I'm going to be looking out for it. I would never have thought of that until you said it. Now I'm just going to be watching for it every CV.
What you're saying is you hired 10 people last week and they're all AI.
Yeah, sorry, they can't come into the office. They've got to work remotely. So
yeah, they work remotely. Yeah, they talk to you in binary. Great. Okay. So if you can sum it up in 2 or 3 sentences, okay? Because I know we've talked about it a little bit. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole again too much. If you can sum up in 2 or 3 sentences, what would your quick tips be on someone who is transitioning from a industry into game dev? So a builder or a chef or like Master Chief. What would your
there's a lot of different areas. Even, to be honest, even people that are, let's say, if you're in fintech or construction and you want to transition to gaming, it's definitely something I come across quite a lot. But I always say, I know I mentioned it earlier in the call, but show your passion, whether that's a short paragraph or talking about your passion for gaming, maybe the first console you played on, something. It could be something silly like that, but it just kind of shows a bit of personality and a bit of understanding. Aside from that, I definitely recommend either reading a few books on game development or attending a few courses on game development. You can find some relatively cheap ones online. But aside from that, you can definitely go to game jams, hackathons, and just make yourself present. I think when people they might see your profile and they might be, think to themselves, okay, it could be interesting. But once they go on your LinkedIn, if you've got a strong brand presence and it's all gaming related, that could tick a few boxes straight away.
Yeah, well, even this year podcast interview thing is to set up for that, to help encourage people to network and connect with each other. So we've got the UAE game developers LinkedIn group just for people to connect, and it the purpose is to make people not feel alone in this industry. And like you said, it's difficult to have a passion in something when you think you're by yourself. So we're trying to foster this. You've got people around you who love the exact same stuff as you do. So follow your passion, make some cool things. Now that there's very local, and you've worked and recruited all over the world. And you've been, how long have you been in the UAE for?
8 months, but it still feels like over 4 months. It's honestly, I don't know where the time's gone. It's like almost a year soon. It's crazy.
Yeah, it goes by quick. But like the thing is, like, even whenever I came to the UAE, within 3 or 4 months, I could tell the differences. I could see the differences in how things are done here compared to different places I've been. So how would you say the gaming industry here in the UAE compares to other countries in the world?
I mean, comparing it with the Western world, I would say that it's definitely in its infancy, but it is growing rapidly. Even in the 8 months that I've been here, I can see, the room for growth, the potential is huge. The investment is genuinely second to none. It's absolutely mind blowing and staggering. Some of the investment that's going around. But I think one of the initial I would say problems was attracting talent from the Western part of the world over here, and bringing that experience over here. But one of the nicest things that I've seen over here, which is a huge problem back home, is there's an actual ecosystem over here. So every time that they bring on, let's say they bring on 5, maybe 10 developers, a studio will make sure that they bring on 2 or 3 graduates to help them kind of nurture them through the next steps in their career, which is is really, really cool. Because in the UK, I think it's really difficult for graduates and junior developers to break into the industry, and that's a massive problem. Over here is, the mindset is we're going to do something about this right from the ground off, and because it's so new, it's just really, I don't want to say easy to implement that, but there's no kind of there's nothing in the way from stopping them from doing it right the first time. Does that make sense?
Systems aren't set up yet; they're still being built, so it's easy enough to incorporate this system. I completely understand it and get what you mean. It is quite difficult to break into the industry back home in the UK, and it's not because the UK market is saturated. I think it's just game dev teams, like especially indies, they're not that big of a team. Like you're talking 20 people, they can make a game that gets sold to millions and millions of people. It's very scalable. So you have these studios that you think are huge in physical terms, but they're not. Well, I think here in the UAE, like you said, it's growing, and you're having lots of these small studios that aren't yet situated, and are looking to get their teeth into it. And yeah, with what you said with the investment is there's a lot of investment out here, but it is difficult to find in terms of the right avenues. It's like, say for example, there's 5 doors behind you. One of those doors has got a lot of investment in it, but you can't see through the doors. It's a little bit tricky, but I know there's a couple of incubators. There's Abu Dhabi Gaming. There's another one, and there's another one. I forget all their acronyms and their names, but they're really good. They help with all the boring stuff of development, like the business, the finance, the recruitment. So I do think the industry's going to grow, and I think it's actually getting ready to explode, especially with all the new tech coming out.
Be interesting.
What about talent here? So you're saying that it's difficult to bring over Western developers. Why is it in the first place that Western developers are needed, or not local talent?
So, I mean, this is just my opinion. I'd say that with some of the larger studios in the Middle East, and not just kind of like Dubai, but also in Saudi as well, I'd say that there is a strong desire to want to compete with some of the high profile clients in the world. So some of the biggest gaming studios, they want to make sure that they're within the next 5-10 years that they are competing with them. So I think the best way to do that is probably to have similar talent that they've had on board. I think in my opinion, again, I think this will last maybe 3 or 4 years. But as part of the ecosystem, they're making sure that it will get to a stage when they can maybe just cut it off, and it'll be like, okay, we're ready to now work from our own footing as opposed to kind of leaning on our neighbours. But at this moment in time, it does seem to be a case of we do need to attract talent over as well.
Do you think?
And to be honest, I think with some of these companies, maybe three years ago, they probably didn't exist. So it's kind of getting up to speed with, companies that have been around for maybe 10 or 15 years time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Duane. That's all I have time for, unfortunately. You've covered a lot in recruitment and in tech and gaming and different fields, and it's a really interesting insight because as an employee and dev, you're just creating stuff. You're not so much thinking of the other side, on the knowledge you give us. Hopefully, people listening to this can take it away and think, okay, I don't have a portfolio. I need to make one. Or okay, there's these here skills that I need to acquire, which is that's great. So thank you very much for having us, Duane. Having us.
No problem.
Very much for joining us.
No problem at all. Thank you very much for reaching out and having me on the show.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. So everybody, hopefully, inshallah, this is not going to be another 2-month hiatus. Hopefully we'll get somebody else on as well, and we'll keep the content coming. But just stay up to date with the UAE Game Developers LinkedIn group and network connect, and yeah, enjoy yourself. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye.